The night was quiet. The forest stood still, only the sound of leaves moving in the soft wind. The moonlight fell on the dark lake, making the water shine like silver. A young man walked along the narrow path, his shoes pressing the dry grass. He was tired after a long day, but he wanted some fresh air. He stopped when he heard it. A sound. A splash in the lake. He turned quickly, eyes searching the water. At first he saw nothing, only ripples breaking the calm surface. But then, a glow, soft blue light rising from the middle of the lake. His heart beat faster. It was not normal. The glow moved closer, and then he saw her. A woman, or at least she looked like one. Her skin gave off a faint silver shine, like she was made of moonlight itself. Her long hair floated on the water surface, wet and heavy, shining with small drops. Her eyes were bright, too bright to be human. She looked scared, weak, but strange at the same time, like something from another world. The young man froze. His legs wanted to run, but his eyes could not look away. The woman lifted her arms from the water, trying to cover herself with long water plants. Her voice came out soft but full of fear. Human, please help me. They stole my clothes. The word shocked him. She called him human like she was not one. He blinked, confused. What are you saying? Who are you? She looked around the forest, eyes wide like something was chasing her. She whispered again, please. I have no time. They are coming. The man stepped closer to the water, though his heart warned him to stay back. You're not from here, are you? She shook her head slowly. Her wet hair stuck to her cheeks. No, I am not from your world. My clothes. They are not just clothes. They are my armor. Without them I am weak. They took it from me. I cannot fight. I cannot even hide. The young man's breath grew heavy. His mind raced. Armor? Not from this world. Was she some kind of alien? But she looked so human. Too human. Before he could ask more, the trees behind him creaked. A strange sound carried in the air. Metal footsteps, clicking noises like claws on stone. The woman's face turned pale. They are here, she whispered. The man turned, his eyes searching the shadows. Between the tall trees he saw red dots. At first he thought they were fireflies. But then they moved. 2, then 4, then 6 glowing eyes, slowly coming closer. What the hell is that? He whispered. The woman's voice was urgent now. Hunters. They hunt me. Please, human, if they find me, I am lost. The young man looked around. He had no weapon, no plan, only a long stick lying near the shore. He grabbed it, holding it tight, even though he knew it was useless against whatever those things were. The shadows moved closer. The clicking sound grew louder. The woman in the water begged, help me. Or leave now. If they see you with me, they will take you too. The man's heart pounded. He could still run. He could still save himself. But his eyes met hers, glowing with fear. She was not lying. She was real, and she needed help. He took a step forward, raising the stick. I don't know what you are, but I'm not leaving you. For the first time she smiled. A small, weak smile. Then you are braver than I thought. The forest went silent for a moment. Only the sound of his breath, her breath, and the dark water moving. Then a loud crack, something heavy stepping on a branch. The red eyes shone brighter now. Shapes moved in the trees. The man whispered, stay low, don't make a sound. But it was too late. From the shadows, tall figures stepped out. Their bodies were long, insect-like, with sharp arms that reflected the moonlight. Their skin looked like black stone, hard and shining. Their red eyes focused on the man first, then on the woman in the water. One of them made a loud, clicking scream that shook the trees. The woman gasped. They found me. The man gripped the stick tighter. His body shook, but he stood his ground. If they want you, he said, his voice trembling but strong, they'll have to go through me first. The alien hunters began to spread out, surrounding the lake. The water glowed brighter around the woman, like her fear was making it shine more. The night was no longer quiet. The first encounter had begun. The forest was no longer calm. The air carried a sharp tension, like the trees themselves were holding their breath. The young man stood frozen, gripping the stick in his hand, his eyes locked on the glowing red shapes moving between the shadows. The alien woman whispered from the water, They will not stop. If they catch me, I am finished. The man's throat felt dry. He wanted to ask questions. Who were they? Why her? But there was no time. The hunters stepped closer. their insect-like legs bending at odd angles, their sharp limbs glinting in the moonlight. Their clicking voices echoed like broken glass. The man forced himself to breathe. "Move," he whispered to her. "Get out of the water. We can't stay here." She hesitated, shivering as the cold air touched her bare skin, but she saw the determination in his eyes. Slowly she climbed out of the lake, wrapping herself in long, wet leaves. The glow from her body dimmed as if she was trying to hide it. The hunters hissed in unison. They had seen her. "Run," the man said. And they ran. The forest floor cracked beneath their feet. Branches slapped the man's arms, but he didn't stop. Behind them, the clicking grew louder, faster, closer. The alien woman moved quickly, but she was weak. Her steps stumbled. She clutched at the man's arm, her voice shaking. "They will not stop. They are faster, stronger. You cannot fight them." "Maybe not," he said, teeth clenched. "But I can slow them down." They darted between trees, their breath sharp in the cold night air. The man could almost feel the hunters crawling behind them, like shadows stretching closer. He turned his head for a second. One of the creatures leapt forward, its red eyes glowing, its claws reaching. The man shoved the woman aside and swung the stick with all his strength. The wood cracked against the alien's head. It staggered back, letting out a metallic screech. The man's arms shook from the force, but he yelled, "Keep going!" The woman grabbed his hand and pulled him. "This way." They ran again, deeper into the forest. The trees grew thicker, branches heavy with shadows. Their footsteps mixed with the hunters' clicking, creating a terrifying rhythm that echoed through the night. At last, the woman pulled him into a hollow beneath a fallen tree. They ducked down, both breathing hard. The hunters rushed past, their glowing eyes scanning, but they didn't see the two hiding. For a moment there was silence. Only their heavy breaths filled the hollow. The man leaned his back against the damp wood, sweat dripping from his face. He looked at her. "You need to tell me what's going on. Who are they? Why are they after you?" Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "They are the Karath, hunters. They capture beings from other worlds. They feed on fear, on weakness. My armor kept me safe. Without it, I am nothing." He swallowed, still gripping his broken stick. "And me? Why do they look at me like that?" The woman's lips trembled. "Because you are human. To them, you are dangerous, even with nothing in your hands. That is why they will kill you too." The man frowned. Dangerous? Him? He felt only fear, only weakness. Yet she looked at him like he was more. Before he could speak again, the ground shook. Heavy footsteps. The hunters had returned, their red eyes sweeping the forest like burning lanterns. One of them bent down, sniffing the ground, clicking in a sharp rhythm. "They can smell us," she whispered. The man's pulse hammered in his ears. He looked at the tree roots above them. If they stayed, they would be caught. If they ran, they would be chased again. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he whispered back, "When I say run, follow me." Her eyes widened. "What are you going to do?" "Something stupid." The hunters grew closer. The red glow burned brighter. The man held the stick tight, his muscles tense. Then with a loud shout, he leapt from the hollow, swinging the stick at the nearest hunter's legs. The alien screeched as it fell. The others turned, clicking in rage. "Run!" the man shouted. The woman darted out, her glowing body a flash of silver in the darkness. Together they sprinted through the forest again. Behind them, the hunters followed, faster, angrier. The chase tore through the trees. The man's lungs burned, but he refused to stop. The woman kept close, whispering prayers in a language he didn't understand. Finally, the forest opened into a rocky clearing. The moonlight revealed a small cave at the far side. "There!" The man pointed. They scrambled toward the cave. The hunters were only steps behind, their claws cutting deep into the soil. One leapt forward, its shadow rising over them. The man grabbed a loose rock and hurled it with all his strength. The stone smashed into the creature's face. It screeched, falling back. The woman gasped as they dove inside the cave, crawling deep into the dark space. The hunters stopped at the entrance, their glowing eyes shining like fire. They hissed, their claws scratching the stone, but they did not enter. The man collapsed against the cave wall, his chest rising and falling fast. The woman sat beside him, trembling, her silver glow dimming. "They will not enter," she whispered. "For now, we are safe." The man closed his eyes, sweat dripping from his forehead. His body shook, but inside something new burned. He had faced monsters from another world, and he was still alive. But the night was far from over. The chase had only begun. The cave was dark and cold. Drops of water fell from the roof, echoing in the silence. The young man leaned against the stone wall, his chest rising and falling. His stick was broken, his hands shaking, but he was still alive. Beside him, the alien woman sat quietly. Her faint silver glow lit the cave just enough to see her face. She looked weak, but her eyes still carried a strange strength. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only their breaths filled the cave. Finally, the man whispered, "What are they?" "Those things." She turned her glowing eyes toward him. "They are called the Karath. They are hunters. For ages they have moved from one world to another, stealing, killing, taking what is not theirs." Her voice trembled. She pulled her knees close, wrapping herself with damp leaves. "They do not just hunt bodies. They hunt spirits. They feed on fear. When you fear them, they grow stronger." The man frowned. He remembered the way the creatures had screamed when he hit them. His heart had been full of fear, yet somehow he had fought back. "Then why do they chase you?" Her eyes lowered. "Because I escaped them. I was a prisoner on their ship. My clothes, my armor, it was my only shield. It kept me hidden, made me strong. Without it, I am nothing but prey." The cave grew colder. The man rubbed his arms, trying to make sense of her words. She was not from Earth, she was from somewhere beyond the stars. He stared at her glowing skin, her otherworldly face, and asked the question that had burned inside him since the lake. "Why did you call me human? Like you are not one of us?" Her lips curved into a small, sad smile. "Because I am not. But I know of your kind. I have studied your people from far above. The Karath. They fear you. More than any other race." The man's heart skipped. "Fear us? Why? We don't even have ships like theirs. We don't have claws or glowing eyes or any of that." She leaned closer, her glowing face lit by the silver moonlight that entered the cave mouth. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They fear you because you fight even when you have nothing. They fear you because you never stop even when you are weak. You are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the smartest, but you are the most dangerous because you do not give up. That is what they fear." The man stared at her, stunned. Him, dangerous? He felt like nothing compared to those monsters. He had no weapon, no plan. He was only running to stay alive. "I'm just one man," he said quietly. Her eyes held his. One man who stood against them. One man who chose not to run when he could. That is what makes you human, and that is why they fear you. Silence filled the cave again. Outside, the hunters scratched at the stone, their glowing red eyes shining at the entrance. They hissed, but they did not step inside. For now the cave was their shelter. The woman rested her head against the wall, her glow dimming. "I cannot stay here long. Without my armor, I will fade. My strength will be gone. If I do not find it soon, I will die." The man's fists clenched. "Where is it?" She closed her eyes. "In their camp. They keep it in a cage of fire. They know it is powerful, so they guard it well." The man thought of the camp. He imagined tall alien guards, claws, red eyes, strange weapons. It sounded impossible. Yet he remembered her words, "Humans fight even with nothing." He looked at her again. She was breathing slowly, weak and pale. He could leave her, walk out of this cave, and pretend none of this was real. But he knew he wouldn't. He whispered almost to himself, "Then we'll get it back." Her eyes opened, glowing brighter. "You would risk your life for me? For someone not of your world?" The man shrugged. "You asked for help. That's enough." She stared at him for a long time, then smiled softly. "Strange. Your kind always surprises me." The night dragged on. The hunters stayed at the entrance, waiting, never moving too far. The man and the woman spoke in low voices, sharing fragments of their worlds. She told him about the stars, about planets with oceans of fire, mountains that touched the sky, storms that never ended. She told him of the Karath ships, black like shadows, feeding on worlds until nothing was left. He listened, eyes wide. For the first time he felt small. The universe was bigger than he had ever imagined. But instead of fear, he felt something else, anger. Anger that these monsters hunted her. Anger that they thought humans were weak. When the silence returned, he picked up a small stone and turned it in his hand. "If they fear humans so much," he said, "then maybe it's time they learned why." Her glowing eyes softened. "Then you are ready." The man looked out at the red eyes glowing in the dark. His heart was heavy, but his spirit burned. The truth had been revealed. Humans were feared not for what they had, but for who they were. The hidden truths had come to light. And now the fight was only beginning. The cave did not protect them for long. The night was deep and the red eyes outside never faded. The hunters were patient. They scratched the stone walls, hissed like broken machines, and waited. The young man knew they could not hide forever. At last he stood. His body was tired, but his mind was sharp. He looked at the alien woman, still glowing faintly in the dark. "They won't leave," he whispered. "If we stay here, they will trap us until sunrise." Her voice was weak but steady. "Then we must fight." "But I cannot fight without my armor." The man gripped a broken piece of wood, sharp at one end. It was not much, but it was something. He clenched his jaw. "Then I'll fight for both of us." The woman shook her head. "You cannot face them alone." He gave her a small, tired smile. "Maybe not. But I won't just sit and wait for them to kill us." Slowly, they moved toward the cave mouth. The hunters hissed when they saw movement. Their red eyes glowed brighter, claws scraping stone, eager for the kill. The man stepped outside first, his heart pounding like a drum. The forest air hit his face, cold and sharp. He raised the wooden spear, ready for death. The first hunter lunged, its long legs bent like springs, launching it forward with terrifying speed. The man dodged, rolling on the ground, then drove the sharp stick into the creature's side. The wood pierced, not deep, but enough to make it shriek. The forest exploded with sound. The other hunters screamed in rage. The woman covered her ears at the piercing noise. The man ripped the stick free and shouted at her, "Run!" She hesitated, but then obeyed. They sprinted through the trees again, the forest alive with the sound of claws and screeches. The hunters crashed through branches, chasing, hungry. The man led her toward a clearing, his mind racing. He needed an advantage. He needed something only a human would think of. He spotted it, a fallen tree, heavy and wide, leaning on a slope. He grabbed the woman's hand. "Here, help me." Together they pushed with all their strength. The log trembled, then rolled down the slope. The hunters charged forward at the same time, not expecting it. The massive log slammed into two of them, knocking them down, crushing their legs with a sickening crack. They shrieked in rage, but the others kept coming. The woman gasped. "How did you think of that?" The man's chest rose and fell. "Because I had to. That's what we do." The battle grew worse. One hunter leapt from a tree above, claws reaching. The man ducked, grabbed a rock, and smashed it into the creature's head. It staggered, but its claws slashed his arm, leaving a deep cut. He cried out but kept moving. Blood ran down his sleeve, but he refused to stop. He grabbed the woman's hand again and pulled her through the forest. "We can't stop." "Not now." The hunters followed, clicking louder, their voices like knives in the night. But the forest was also alive, full of weapons the man could use. He kicked up dirt and leaves into the face of one. He snapped a branch and jabbed it into another's mouth. He threw stones, set small fires with his lighter, forced them back with smoke. The alien woman watched in awe. Each time she thought he would fall, he rose again. Each time she thought he was finished, he found another way. Finally, they reached a wide clearing, moonlight pouring down like silver. The hunters circled them, red eyes glowing, bodies twitching with hunger. The man stood in the center, blood dripping from his arm, sweat on his face. He raised his broken stick once more. His voice was loud and steady. "You want her? You'll have to go through me first." The hunters hissed, moving closer, claws scraping. The alien woman's glow brightened. She stepped forward, her voice ringing clear. "You see now? This is why you fear them. Even with nothing, a human fights." The hunters paused, their red eyes flickering. For a moment, the forest went silent. Then, with a scream, they all rushed at once. The man roared back, swinging, stabbing, kicking. The forest became chaos. Claws clashing against wood, screeches mixing with shouts, moonlight flashing on sharp limbs. The alien woman raised her hands. Though weak, her body still carried strange power. Her glow brightened, pulsing like fire. She shouted words in her own language, and a shock of light burst from her skin. The hunter staggered back, blinded. The man took the chance. He drove the broken stick deep into one hunter's chest. It collapsed with a terrible cry. The others hissed and pulled back, their red eyes burning with rage. But they did not finish the fight. Not tonight. The hunters screeched in anger and disappeared into the trees, melting back into the shadows. The man dropped to his knees, exhausted, blood running down his arm. The woman knelt beside him, her glow fading again. "They will return," she whispered. "They will never stop." The man looked at her with tired eyes, but a faint smile. "Then we'll be ready." The forest fell silent once more, but the truth was clear. The first battle had been won. Yet the war had only begun. The forest was silent again, but the silence felt heavy. unnatural. The smell of smoke and blood lingered in the air. The young man sat on the ground, pressing his hand against the wound on his arm. His body ached from the battle, but his eyes stayed sharp, watching the trees. The alien woman sat beside him. Her glow had dimmed to a soft shimmer, almost fading. She touched his arm gently. "You bleed," she whispered. He gave a weak laugh. "Yeah, I noticed." Her face grew serious. "You risked everything. You fought with nothing in your hands against creatures no one dares face. Why?" The man looked at her, his voice low. "Because you asked for help. And because it felt right." She lowered her head, guilt in her glowing eyes. "If you stay with me, you will die. The Karath will not stop. They will hunt until we are both broken." The man leaned back against a tree, breathing slow. "Then tell me how to end this. Tell me how to stop them." For a moment she was silent, her face caught between hope and fear. Then she spoke softly. "My armor. Without it I am weak. With it I can fight, I can stand. But the Karath keep it in their camp, guarded, surrounded." He frowned. "Then we need to go there." Her eyes widened. "No, you cannot. Their camp is death. Even I fear to step near it. You are human, but you are not immortal." The man stared into the shadows of the forest. His arm throbbed, but inside something stronger was growing. "If your armor is the only way to fight them, then I have to help you get it back." The woman shook her head, tears forming. "You don't understand. If you try, you will be caught. You will be taken. And the Karath do not kill quickly. They will make you suffer." The man looked at her, his voice steady. "Maybe, but if we do nothing, they'll keep hunting you. And me. And maybe one day more of my people." "I can't let that happen." Her breath caught. She stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "You would choose death just to help me?" He shook his head slowly. "No, I choose to fight. There's a difference." The forest wind blew through the branches, carrying the smell of wet soil. The night was almost gone, but the danger was far from over. She turned her glowing eyes away, whispering, "You're kind. You are strange. You fight without hope, yet somehow that gives you strength." He smiled faintly. "We fight because sometimes it's the only thing left." Silence hung between them, heavy but alive. The woman wrapped her arms around herself, trembling from weakness. Her glow flickered like a dying flame, the man noticed. "How much time do you have?" Her voice cracked. "Not long. Without my armor, I fade. My body is not made for this world's air. It eats away at me." His chest tightened. He looked down at the dirt, then back at her. "Then we don't have a choice. We go to their camp. We get your armor tonight." Her glowing eyes filled with fear. "You don't understand what waits there, traps, weapons, more hunters than you have seen. Even I could not face them all, and you are only human." He laughed softly, though there was no humor in it. "Only human, huh? Funny. You keep saying your enemies fear humans. Maybe it's time we find out why." Her lips trembled. "If you fall, your people will never know. You will vanish into the dark like so many others. Is that a choice you want?" The man stood slowly, gripping the broken spear in his hand. His wound bled, but he did not care. His voice was strong now, clear in the night. "Yes. Because if I don't, I'll regret it forever. I'd rather die fighting than live running." The woman stared at him, stunned. For a long moment she said nothing. Then slowly she nodded. "Then I will guide you. If you choose this path, I will not stop you. But know this, human. Once we enter their camp, there is no turning back." The man tightened his grip on the stick, his jaw hard. "Good, I wasn't planning to turn back anyway." She closed her eyes, a single tear glowing as it fell. When she opened them again, her face was calm, her fear replaced with quiet respect. Then the choice is made. The forest seemed to lean in around them, the air heavy with what was coming. The hunters hissed in the distance, their voices echoing through the trees. The camp waited, full of shadows and danger. The man took a deep breath, looking at the woman. "Show me the way." Her glow brightened, faint but steady. "Then follow me, human, and may your courage burn brighter than their fear." Together they stepped into the darkness toward the heart of the enemy. The choice had been made, and now their fates were tied together. The night was deep when they reached the edge of the hunters' camp. The forest gave way to a clearing, where strange blue fires burned in tall iron bowls. The light flickered against black stone towers that rose like broken teeth from the earth. Around the towers, shadows moved, dozens of Karath hunters, their red eyes glowing as they patrolled the camp. The young man crouched low in the grass, his wounded arm pressed against his chest. Beside him, the alien woman pointed toward the center of the camp. Her voice was low, urgent. There, the cage of fire. My armor is inside. The man followed her gaze. At the heart of the camp stood a metal frame glowing with energy. Inside, resting on a stone pedestal, were strange silver clothes that shimmered like liquid light. The armor seemed alive, humming with power. The man's breath caught. That's it? She nodded. Yes. But the fire around it will kill anyone who steps too close unless the fire is broken. The man scanned the camp, his eyes moving over hunters, fires, and shadows. His mind raced. He was one man with nothing but a broken stick. Yet he had come too far to turn back now. He looked at her. Stay low. Let me think. The hunter's camp was full of sound, clicking voices, claws scraping stone, strange machines humming in the dark. The young man studied everything, searching for weakness. His eyes fixed on a line of barrels near one of the fires. They looked like they held oil or fuel. He smiled grimly. I think I know how to break their fire. The woman frowned. How? He whispered. The same way humans have solved problems for ages. With fire of our own. She tilted her head, not fully understanding, but she trusted him. They waited until 2 hunters passed by. Then the man crept forward, crawling on the ground like a shadow. His heart pounded with every step, every crunch of dirt under his hands. His wound throbbed, but he forced himself to move. Reaching the barrels, he pulled a small lighter from his pocket. He flicked it once, nothing. Twice, a weak flame appeared. He smiled. Come on, he whispered to himself. He lit a dry branch and placed it under the barrels. The oil inside caught quickly, flames growing fast. The camp changed instantly. Hunters shrieked, rushing toward the fire. Their clicking voices rose in alarm. Shadows moved everywhere, chaos spreading. The man motioned to the woman. Now! They sprinted toward the cage. The fire around the armor burned bright blue and white, alive like lightning. The woman stopped short, her face twisted with fear. I cannot pass. It will kill me. The man looked at her, then at the flames. His chest tightened, but he knew what he had to do. Then I will. Before she could stop him, he stepped into the fire. Pain exploded through his body, burning like knives of light. His skin blistered, his lungs screamed, but he pushed forward. The hunters saw him and shrieked. They rushed back from the fire, afraid to touch it. The woman cried out, No, you will die! The man staggered, teeth clenched, eyes fixed on the armor. Every step was agony, but he refused to fall. He reached the pedestal, grabbed the silver clothes, and tore them free. The fire roared louder, but the moment he held the armor, it dimmed. The flames collapsed, fading into smoke. The man collapsed to his knees, the armor clutched against his chest. The woman ran to him, her glowing hands pulling him out of the smoke. She pressed her forehead to his, tears streaming down her silver face. Why? Why would you do this? His voice was weak, broken. Because I promised. To help? She stared at him, then at the armor in his hands. Her tears fell faster. You fool. You brave, beautiful fool. She slipped the silver armor over her body. At once, her glow burst bright like a star had fallen into the forest. The strange metal wrapped around her, shifting into shape, alive, becoming one with her skin. The hunters froze, their red eyes wide with fear. The woman rose to her feet. Her voice thundered strong again. Now it ends, the hunters charged. Dozens of them, screeching, claws flashing. She raised her hand and light poured from her armor. A wave of energy slammed into the hunters, throwing them back like dry leaves in the wind. Trees shook, the earth cracked. The man lay on the ground, watching through blurry eyes. He saw her move like lightning, her body a storm of silver light. She struck the hunters one by one, her armor blazing, her power unstoppable. Screeches filled the camp. Red eyes blinked out one after another until only silence remained. The woman stood tall, glowing brighter than the fires around them. The hunters were gone, broken and scattered. She turned to the man, rushing to his side. He was pale, his breath shallow, his skin burned, yet his eyes were open, watching her with a faint smile. You got your armor, he whispered. She cradled his head in her glowing hands. Because of you. Because you chose to fight even when you had nothing. His smile grew weak. That's what humans do. Her tears fell onto his face, glowing like stars. Rest now, human. I will not let you die. The camp burned around them, blue flames lighting the sky. The battle was over, but the story was not finished. The camp burned long into the night. Blue flames licked the towers, Smoke curled toward the stars and the ground was littered with broken pieces of the hunters. The forest around the clearing was silent, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. In the center of it all, the alien woman knelt beside the young man. Her silver armor shimmered with life, glowing brighter with every breath she took. But his breath was shallow, his face pale, his arm torn and burned from the fire. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Do not leave me now." His lips curled in a faint smile. "Still here, not going anywhere." She pressed her glowing hands against his wounds. The armor hummed, sending streams of light into his body. The pain dulled, the bleeding slowed. But healing him fully would take more than her power. It would take time, something the hunters would not give. The woman lifted her head, scanning the burning camp. No more red eyes glowed in the shadows, but she knew the Karath were not finished. This battle was only a spark in a much larger war. She looked back at him, tears glowing on her cheeks. "Why human? Why fight for me, when you could have walked away?" He coughed softly, his voice weak but steady. "Because you asked. And because, if we don't fight, then they win. Simple as that." She shook her head in disbelief. "You speak as if your kind carries endless courage. You are only one man, yet you face them all." His eyes closed, his words a whisper. "One man is sometimes enough." For a long moment she only held him, her armored hands trembling. Then she stood, lifting him gently in her arms. With the armor, her strength had returned. She could carry him as easily as a child. The flames cast long shadows as she walked out of the camp, the weight of his body against her chest. The forest parted around them, quiet and watchful. They reached the lake where they had first met. The water reflected the stars above, calm and endless. She laid him down on the soft grass at the edge. He opened his eyes again, weak but alive, staring up at the night sky. "Beautiful," he whispered. She followed his gaze. "Yes, but you are not looking at the stars, are you?" He gave a faint laugh. "No, I'm looking at something else." Her silver glow brightened, her cheeks warming. For the first time in her life she felt small. Not because she was weak, but because this one human had shown her something greater than power. She knelt beside him, her voice soft. "You should know, human. Your kind is not alone. The stars are full of races, full of wars and empires, but none of them are like you. None of them fight the way you do. That is why the Karath fear you. That is why I believe in you." His eyes grew heavy, but his lips curled into a smile. "Then maybe one day, we'll prove them right." She touched his face gently. "You already have." The night deepened, the lake shimmering under the moon. For a time they said nothing, only listened to the water and the wind. At last she stood, her armor shifted, glowing brighter, wings of light spreading from her back. She looked down at him, her expression torn between sorrow and hope. "I must leave soon," she whispered. "The hunters will return with more. If I stay, I will bring death to your world." He struggled to sit up, his body weak. "Then go, but promise me one thing." Her eyes locked with his. "Anything. Remember us. Remember humans. And tell the stars, we're not afraid." Her lips parted, her eyes shining. Slowly she nodded. "I will. I promise." She leaned down, pressing her forehead to his. For a heartbeat, the glow of her armor flowed into him, warm and gentle. Then she stepped back, her wings unfolding fully. The man watched as she rose into the sky, her body shining like a comet tearing through the clouds. The forest lit up with her glow until she disappeared into the stars. The night fell silent again. The man lay on the grass, staring at the sky where she had vanished. His body hurt, but his spirit burned. He whispered to himself, "One day, we'll meet again." The stars above twinkled, almost as if they were listening, and far beyond Earth, among countless worlds and countless dangers, a story began to spread, of a single human who faced the hunters with nothing but courage, and won. The alien woman kept her promise. She told the stars about Earth, about humans, about the fire in their hearts, and the universe remembered.